It's time for the Hockey Minute, your source for all of today's hockey news with some opinion. Strap in for the fastest news in the NHL. This episode is proudly brought to you by fucking nobody. We don't have any sponsors. Now, here's your hosts, Brandon and Ryan.
And here we are. Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Minute. I am your host, Brandon. With me, as always, my co-host, Ryan. Ryan, how you doing, man?
Doing really good, buddy. We have a very special guest on today, but before we get to that, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. You know, I just watched Louis C.K.'s new special on his website there, and I mean, I just love Louis C.K. He's my favorite living comic. He's always evolving. He's always changing up his act. You know, asking a girl if she's into Louis C.K. used to be like, "Hey, are you into good comedy?" And now it's like, do you want to watch me scoop cum out of my belly button?
Jesus Christ. Oh, fuck. Yeah. This is going to be, this will be one we'll hide from your kids, I guess.
Yeah, right? We're going to just beep the whole thing.
Well, I'm not quite sure how to transition out of that. So
with some
I'm
Kleenex.
just going to jump. Yeah, exactly. But you know what? I'm going to jump in here, and this is a big deal. I never do the intro. That's how you know that this is special, because I got the green light to do the intro here, folks. Who our guest today is one of our, probably just our first real big supporter in the podcast world, and hosts his own very successful podcast based out of Thornton, Colorado. Cody Beekman on the bench with Beeks host. He joins us today. Cody, how you doing?
Oh, buddy, I'm feeling good. I don't know how, well, after that little Louis C.K. comment, I'm not sure how I'm doing now. But no, dude, I'm super happy to be on. I love you guys' podcast. I'm honored to be here, bud.
Oh, bro, that's awesome. Well, let's dive right into it, because I know we don't want to keep you too long here, but we have a lot of questions. You're an Avs fan, and first thing I'm going to ask you, just how did you start becoming an Avs fan? Was it just based off of were you a Nordiques fan, or was it just when the Avs came to Colorado?
Well, geez, I'm gonna dig into this a little bit. My dad grew up in Ohio, and back then the IHL was going around. And he used to go and watch the Dayton Gems, like almost every weekend and stuff. And he loved hockey, and he brought that to my childhood. And my parents moved to Colorado before the Avs came here, and then once the Avs got here, it was just like, hey, little Beekman. Watch, learn, listen. This is how hockey's played. I mean, so I got to say it was 95 to 96 where I was just brought into it. We sat down in our little 20-inch TV sphere on U.S. Denver, Channel 20, watching the Avs game, and after that, I was sold.
So then you obviously saw Bourque lift the cup.
Yeah, I absolutely did. I mean, I like I said, I was in there from 95, 96. Yeah. You know what? I'll tell you right now, I'm not a crying man, but seeing Bourque lift the cup, that was, I was crying.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is one of the greatest things ever, like the Sakic pass to Bourque, right? I mean,
yeah. Oh, it was just, I mean, if you were watching the actual broadcast, he was looking for Bourque in the crowd the entire time. And as soon as Bettman gave Sakic the cup, it was just like Sakic just turns and hands it to Bourque, and I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like at that point, it's words are meaningless. It's really just about like watching it.
So that's interesting. Do you think that if Bourque had come to the team, I mean, you were obviously quite young when they won the cup, right? It was probably in your kind of prime childhood years, right?
What are you talking about? 2001 or
exactly? So like when Bourque won in 2001, yeah. So were you like a bit younger? Was it a little more influential? Like if you were kind of a grown man when a famous player came to the team, do you think you'd have the same kind of attachment to him?
Well, I'll tell you right now, it was more influential than the first time they won the cup, because back when they first won the cup, I was like 6 years old.
Right.
But when I was when Bourque won the cup, I was around 11, and I've actually got a funny story about this. So my pops actually coached a softball team, so we had to actually go out and they had a game right while Game 7 was going on. And luckily enough, one of the parents actually had a mobile TV. So I'm out there, 11 years old, just sitting watching Game 7, just freaking out because I mean at that point we had left when it was 2-1 Avs, and so I'm sitting there in the parking lot, and they finally win the cup. I mean, Bourque takes his last skate, Fopa hops on the ice, everything's going crazy. I'm like, oh, the Avalanche just won the cup. I run into the softball stadium where everybody's playing, just screaming my nuts off, just like, the Avs won the cup, the Avs won the cup, the Avs won the cup. And everybody just turns and look at me, and it's just like this. I get the same face from at least like 50 people. It's just like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, are you kidding, people? The Avs just won the fucking Stanley Cup. Like, are you not excited? And so I just run back, and I'm just watching. I just say, you know what? Screw it. Screw these people. The Avs won the Stanley Cup. This is probably the best night of my life.
Oh man, and that was at a time too where they had those foot jerseys. Like, do you know the origin of that? Because up here in Vancouver, like, it kind of looks like they're straight out of the Ninja Turtles almost. But what was the backstory of that foot jersey?
The foot? Oh, it was great. When we first started, we had a mascot. He was named Howler, and he was a Yeti.
Oh,
so it was the Yeti foot. Like the Yeti footprint in the Avalanche after it happened. And so I'll tell you right now, like, Avalanche fans hold that in very high regards. A lot of people are very sad, just like me, that it's actually gone the way of, it's not there anymore. But I mean, if you look back on Google, you type in Howler, that was our mascot, man. We had a Yeti that was just iced out and just ready to fucking battle, man.
Oh man, I was just hoping you could touch on the prospects for a minute. I mean, we have Bowen Byram out here for the Giants, who I was pretty blessed to see a couple times last year, and the kid is just on a whole other level when it comes to the WHL. How do you guys see him slotting in going forward? I know you're already pretty stacked there with Sam Girard.
Well, the thing is, we already have some defensemen that are actually on their way out. I mean, just over the shutdown, Mark Barberio signed in Switzerland, and as much as we like to talk about Eric Johnson, he's on his way out, man. He's been injured almost every single season that he's played here in Colorado, and his contract is eventually is coming to an end. So I see Bo Byram slotting in real nice. I mean, obviously during this last training camp and preseason games he didn't look too well, but I mean, the thing is that his coach down in Vancouver right now is playing him in every single facet of the game. Yep. So he's playing penalty kill, he's playing even strength, he's playing power play. So that's huge. That is huge because that's what you want for development from a guy like Bo Byram. Obviously, he went super high in the draft, and that's awesome. But I mean, you got to have a little bit of development, and if you're going to come in, and I would probably think that he's going to slot in right behind, I would say, in the top two sets of D. He's probably going to be the back two, but he will come in and he will perform, especially with the development this year, and it's pretty exciting actually. I'm glad he decided to stay in Vancouver for a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, but better to leave him overripe than to bring him in and tank the confidence, right?
Well, and that's, I mean, this may sound a little, I don't know, but I think what they did with Tyson Jost is they brought him in a little bit too early, and it's kind of been detrimental to his development. Obviously, he's done a really good job at the end of this season towards the shutdown, but I mean, I think if we would have left him a little bit longer, maybe at North Dakota, I believe where he came from. If he would have stayed one more year, I think it would have done him a whole lot of good. So the fact that we have Bo still down with the Vancouver Giants just to work out his game, maybe grow a little bit better, I think that's going to be huge for him.
Is there any scenario that you could see Bowen Byron being moved for a winger, or do you think he's a lock for the Avs?
Well, the thing is right now is with all the acquisitions that we have made this past year, we've got Eunice locked down for 3 years, and I mean, we got Nazem centering, and I know Ryan's going to cringe at me saying that name. But I mean, I think we've shored up our front end, especially with, guys like Martin Kaut coming up from the AHL, Shane Bowers. I know Shane Bowers hasn't had a whale of a year this year, but he has been dealing with a lot of injury. A lot of guys can be spotted in those positions in the front line where we don't really need anything up front. Like we've done a good job of actually acquiring top end talent to where our depth is way better than it was last year, and we'll continue to have that at least 2 or 3 years down the road.
I'm going to ask you this question because I feel like this is just going to get heated if Brandon asks it. Quinn Hughes versus Cale Makar, okay?
Oh, let's do it.
So, I mean, there's a huge debate going on right now for the Calder. And what can you tell us about Makar that's made his season so special?
Everybody knows what he did last year. He came in, first game, scores a huge goal for the Avs in that Flame series, and everybody thought that Makar would just kind of stop and just maybe take a breath in and lose a step this year. After everything's happened, because I mean he came in after the Frozen Four, he's just ramped up. He's just got all this adrenaline running, so he's just like, yeah, hockey. Next thing you know, what I'm playing hockey in my home province in the NHL playoffs. But you know what? I'll tell you this: he did stumble for a little bit at the beginning of the season, but there was just something that I think Bednar has a lot to do with this, and a lot of the talent that he's around now. They straight up came to him and said, you know what, bud, stop gripping the stick so tight and just go out there and play your game. And I think it's shown in spades this entire year, and the way he can break into an offensive zone, the quickness, and you know what, you don't see a lot of people saying he's tough, but I mean it doesn't matter to him. He'll take a hit and he'll rub off of it, and I like him for the Calder, but I mean Quinn Hughes has some upside too. I'll tell you this: I've had a chance to actually watch a lot of Vancouver games. Lucky for me, and I mean Quinn Hughes is nothing to shy at. I mean he's a solid defenseman that has a lot of upside. So that's a loaded question, but especially with Brandon sitting here.
I've got my knives out. Don't worry.
Brandon's looking up flights to Thornton, Colorado right now. So.
Oh yeah, I know. I may not be able to see you, but I'm just ready. I could just see So it could go either way, but they have both had an incredible year. I mean, Quinn Hughes has just been lights out, like points like crazy, and the fact that he's been relied upon for a huge amount of Vancouver defense.
Yeah.
I mean, it could go either way.
I want to ask you about another guy. Oh, sorry, B, you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, just one quick thing on Makar, Beeks, because I know you obviously watched him the whole season. I maybe watched 10 games all year for Colorado, and a point I've kind of seen noticed raised for Makar is that he's kind of sheltered in his deployment, where you'll see him out with the top line more often than carrying like true number one minutes. Do you think that that's a fair assessment? Or?
Oh, suck on that one.
Oh, he does get top line minutes, no doubt about it. But I mean, like I said, I think I said it earlier with EJ. He's a bit of a broken down horse. So you've got Makar like actually making up for a lot of the lost speed with EJ.
Right.
And also he's other times he's paired up with Ian Cole, and sometimes actually for the last, I'd say, like few games before the shutdown, he was actually paired up with Ryan Graves. And if you guys don't know about Ryan Graves, I'm sure Jules can tell you about him. He was a big name in the New York Rangers. But he's responsible. That's what I like about him, is that he knows when to jump up into the play. He knows when to stay back, and he's very capable of doing two jobs at once because of his speed. Yeah, he might get stuck in the ozone, but he has the capability to come back maybe on like a 3-on-2 or something that maybe Landy and EJ might get caught up in, but he'll always grab that trailer and he'll go to the right spots, which like me looking at it, that's high hockey IQ, and to me that shines bright.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, just changing gears a little bit here, about we talked about the new guard a little bit, but the old guard, and growing up, Joe Sakic was my idol. I always tried to play like him. Obviously failed miserably. However, he's a Hall of Famer. He's probably the most notable, arguably the most notable Colorado State athlete ever. Was it tough at all to watch his evolution as a general manager? Because it seemed like probably 3 or 4 years ago, he wasn't getting a lot of credit for the job he had done, and people were on him about not trading Matt Duchene for pennies on the dollar. And now, in hindsight, that trade netted them Sam Girard, but it also ended up getting them Byram, because that pick that the Senators traded, that was the 4th overall in 2019. So was it hard at all, though, for the fan base to kind of see whether it was strictly outside fans, or even if there were Avs fans that were unhappy with, the biggest face of the franchise?
Well, you got to break it down like this. I mean, a guy on the ice, he's doing everything he wants it. Everything he can do. And I mean, Joey on the ice, I think we all can agree, was just a maverick. And when you switch to front office, it's a whole nother game. It really is. And with the mess that Joe was left with after Greg Sherman, those first couple of years, it was easy to just like say, oh my God, what is this guy doing? Because, I'll tell you this right now, Greg Sherman left our team in a mess. At a point we had Ryan O'Reilly, Matthew Shane, Kevin Shattenkirk, a whole bunch of just like incredible players. Joel Quenneville behind the bench, and we were looking like we'd be good, but Sherman would sign some awful contracts, so Joe had to really work around those for at least the first 2 years, and that was, obviously everybody in like Avs garb, all throughout the state, well, anywhere you want to be, you're saying, Joe's not doing anything, Well, the thing is like Joe couldn't do anything for the first 2 years. And it really did start with that Duchene trade. It really did. I mean, like when positive aspects started to look his way, it was huge. Because I mean, let's be honest, boys. I mean, that Duchesne trade was coming forever. But you want to get something just real good in return. You know, you don't want to just sell them off for dollars on a just like a merry-go-round, if I may. So, when it came in, it actually came right before that global series in Stockholm, if you guys remember. And, you get Sammy G, you get Shane Bowers, you get Ottawa's conditional first-round pick. And then, that was money. I mean, you can't really ask for anything more from a Duchesne trade. And that's the thing, is that when you look at it now, he was completely focused on the Avalanche's future. He was, and he got that. He got everything he wanted. He shored up the Avs' future. I mean, you got Bowen Byram, you got Cal Makar, you got, Shane Bowers is a comparable center, and you got all of that in a trade for one guy.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
It definitely does make the Avs. I mean, they're, I believe, second overall in the West right now, and they look like they were making a deep run, which leads me to my next question about a guy that I actually was really questioning probably 3-4 years ago, and that's Nathan MacKinnon. And the first year, he wins Rookie of the Year. And then years 2, 3, and 4, Seth Jones took off. He was 4th overall in that draft. Barkov was 2nd overall, and Barkov was quietly lighting the world on fire. A lot of questions around MacKinnon, but the last 3 seasons, all of a sudden, he went from potentially being not quite a bust of a first overall, but just sort of a middling player, to then being a top 5 in the world. And I don't want to be putting on the tinfoil hat on this one, but it does seem once Duchesne got traded, that's when he really took off. I mean, is there any correlation there, or am I just smoking the good BC bud?
Oh no, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. You know, you got two first round picks that are supposed to be the face of your franchise, and you know what? I've heard things about them not clicking in the locker room. As soon as Duchesne left, it was Bednar set MacKinnon, Landy, and EJ down and said, you know what, this is your team. Do what you want with it. But if you want to win a Stanley Cup, this is your team right now. So do something. And I think that really set MacKinnon on this ultimate path of just ultimate destruction. You know what I mean? It was, and I'll tell you right now. Once Duchesne left, I mean, it was MacKinnon's team.
So I've heard a rumor that the Avs are interested in Matt Murray. Do you think he'd be a good fit, or do you think the Avs should stick with Grubauer?
Matt Murray. Well, see, you know what? That's high money.
Yeah.
And right now, a lot of people look at our cap space and say, "Oh, why aren't the Avalanche doing this?" Or "Why aren't the Avalanche reeling in a big money prospect?" I mean, we've got a lot of people to pay down the road, and we got to save that money for. I mean, like Kaler's in for a big payday. I mean, obviously Landy along the road. I think his contract's up in 2 years, and obviously signing MacKinnon again. But the one reprieve there is that MacKinnon even said it publicly, is that he'll take less to win with this team.
What does his less look like though? Right? Is he taking 10 instead of 11.5? Or
well, I mean, he took a total discount that last contract he did. So I mean, we'll have to see what that looks like. But I mean, we've got a lot of people to pay. So I mean, Joe, he's looking into the future. I mean, obviously you're gonna have to pay Grubauer maybe along the way. And I mean, and which leads me to this, is that, you know what, Grubauer and Francouz, they're not a bad tandem.
Right.
Yeah, they're solid.
They're really not. Francis. I had my doubts about him. Just like a 26-year-old, untested AHL goalie coming in and backing up Grubauer, which has had his moments of faltering. But with those two, they have really made a statement. I know Francis has been a huge statement, especially with Grubauer going down late in the season. The man, he's basically copycatting Elvis Merzlikins. He's not going 5 games with a shutout, but the man is solid in goaltender. And especially for me, those right-handed goaltenders always make me shaky. It's just I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird seeing a right-handed tendy, but
sure.
Francis has been huge. He's that's where we've been winning a lot of games down the stretch towards the shutdown, is that Francis has been coming up huge. To say that you want to go after Matt Murray, he's a big payday. Of course, it's a big name, but I'd rather look elsewhere.
Fair. Yeah. The 2 Stanley Cups are going to drive a price tag that his play probably doesn't deserve.
Well, of course, anywhere he's going to go, it's going to be pricey. And right now, with all our young talent, I'd rather save it for them. When right now we're looking at a solid goalie tandem. I'll take a pass.
That's fair. So, Beeks, I just have one more question for you. I'm a little bit curious. What's happening right now with the broadcast rights for the Avalanche? Are they still making it as hard as possible to watch Avs games there?
Oh, buddy, that's a whole case of worms. So right now, at the beginning of the season, Stan Kroenke, he owns all the rights to the Nuggets, the Avs, the Mammoth, and he even has a channel. It's called Altitude. And for the last couple of years, he hasn't been making enough money. Like, holy crap, you're not making enough money when you're married to a Walton gal, and But anyways, so there's been a huge dispute.
Oh boy.
The 3 major cable companies that carry Altitude are disputing that they don't bring enough revenue in, and that's the same thing that Kroenke's disputing, is that he basically has a 24-hour TV station going all the time, but the only draw is those 3 teams. And even in Colorado, lacrosse isn't that big of a thing. It's big enough to actually have a team, but nobody's going to be watching on TV. Unfortunately, unless you're weird like me, but so he's disputing that he's not making enough money for 24 hours of broadcast. When you've got 3 hours of an Avalanche game, and if you're lucky on the same night, you got 3 hours of a Nuggets game, and then maybe during the week you get any variation of that. But so he's not making any money. So he's made a complete stalemate against these huge cable providers, that he deserves more money when he's not driving in the actual revenue that the 3 major cable providers actually agreed upon in their first contract. So it's this huge thing. It's making they actually finally made a deal with Dish. DirecTV. DirecTV, they made a deal finally. I'd say more than halfway into the season. So every single Avs fan is going at least more than halfway into the season not seeing this. And then Kroenke makes a deal with DirecTV. And so DirecTV subscribers can actually watch the games. That's it. There's still a stalemate between Comcast and Dish. So you're left to like a lot of hardcore Avalanche fans looking through back channels. I mean, like going through Reddit streams and just maybe paying a guy off in the alley just to get a little bit of that Avalanche. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like if you're not going to give me an avenue to watch hockey, I'm going to find it. Like it's pretty simple.
And you know what's absolutely ridiculous is that like you go into the Pepsi Center, and you just see it's like the Pepsi Center is just painted with all this like call into your Comcast and Dish providers and demand your Avs, when ultimately it's really Stan Kroenke just being too greedy. I mean, the guy's got this. The guy owns the Arsenal out in Europe. He owns the St. Louis or I should say LA Rams now, and moved them from St. Louis just to make more buck because he's based out of California, and so he's got multiple avenues of money. I mean, like I said, he married a Walton gal, and from Canadian perspective, it's like Walmart. It's that family. The Waltons pretty much own America, and he married into that family, and he has so many shopping malls and everything that is based right around every Walmart in the country. So he's not short of money. This is literally just a power grab for Kroenke, and it's taken a toll on a lot of their fans, and I'm quite sick of it. And I'll tell you, ask any Avs or Nuggets fan in the area, because it's straight around like 50 miles, obviously, with blackouts of the Pepsi Center. So we're screwed. Well, we're literally looking. We're looking through back channels to find our games, or Kroenke cuckolds us into buying tickets to go to the games. And I mean, don't get me wrong. Of course, I'd love to go to games, but monetarily, sometimes you can't buy a $70 ticket and spend $20 on a beer and $15 on a hot dog and get by. So I mean, it's just the fact that he's literally just making us go to games is, I mean, I've met with so many Avs fans that are well below the poverty line. I mean, to be completely honest with you, I'm in that same position. I'm a quadriplegic that can't work very well. I have very limited working potential. So I'm below the poverty line, and you can't just make it out to Avs games all willy nilly.
Yeah, fair.
And to not see it on TV is that's kind of just like a slap in the face to thousands of Avs fans that are just want to watch their game. And to be completely honest with you, this has probably been one of the season's best to watch.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're going to pick up new fans, this would have been the year to do it, right?
Definitely in the last 10 years.
Truly, and yet he's still standing right out that red line where he's saying, no, you give me more money, or I'll just sit on my other billions of dollars.
Well,
must be fucking nice.
Beeks, hey, first of all, brother, we have Walmart in Canada, just so you know. We do have we have internet and stuff up here. Like it's actually it's very similar to America. I wanted to just get that out there, but hey, listen, brother, thank you so much for coming on. And again, just from all of us, I mean, you guys have always been so supportive, and like I said, means the world to us, and we're really happy to be running with you guys. Yep. For the listeners that want to check you guys out, On the Bench with Beeks, where can they find you?
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor, and Overcast. Just search in On the Bench with Beeks, and you'll find my lovely looking mug. right on the front there. And hey, bud, like I love your guys' podcast. It's always so fun listening to you guys. And if I could pimp anything out, it'd be you guys. So I love what you're doing. So and I'm honored to have to be on and talk a bit of hockey with you guys.
But yeah, I appreciate the pimping comment, but we just put Brandon up on OnlyFans, so we're good in that regard.
Oh, buddy, there you go. OnlyFans is where it's at, apparently.
It's all about the new normal, right? We're working towards this new economy. So
That's right.
Well, you got to make money somehow.
exactly.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. One last huge thanks to Beeks for coming on the pod, man. Hope we can do it again soon. From Ryan and Brandon, we'll catch you next time on the Hockey Minute.
We'd like to take a second and thank you, the listener, for joining us. And a big thanks goes to our writers and production team, Jules, Mark, and Matt. We couldn't do this without you.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Hockey Minute, as well as leaving voicemails on our Anchor page at Hockey Minute. And always make sure to subscribe to whichever platform you listen to your podcasts.
That's going to do it for us. This is Brandon and Ryan. We'll talk to you next time on the Hockey Minute.
I probably could have gone at least another hour on that. I'm so fucking pissed about that.